gosh, this is the first time I'm on live with Instagram, which is weird for me, but I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to introduce myself because you guys here on Facebook know me well. My name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. So I'm not really sure how Instagram works, but I'm actually on Instagram as we speak. I think this is kind of cool. Hey, Tamara, we've got to get together. So I'm playing with it. I'm learning it. I don't know how you guys talk to me on it, but let's do it. So for those of you again who are jumping on, I see a lot of people jumping on now. My name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. So instead of the group and the page, I'm actually on the page and Instagram right now, which I think is kind of cool. I'm excited about that. So welcome to the Instagrammers, right? And I am moving into TikTok. You know me, I have my hey, how are you? So you know me, I have my personality. So I'm excited to do TikTok. I know you, Christina, do TikTok. You're going to have to teach me the 411, but then we can do something together, right? No, but seriously guys, tomorrow, Erin is working on some really cool things for me, and she is my amazing assistant, and I'm going to be telling you guys about my IEP. Remember I told you guys about the IEP that I attended, and it was a 9-hour IEP meeting, and I said, oh my God, it was crazy. I can't believe I sat through an IEP meeting that was 9 hours. Well, yesterday took the cake. I was in an IEP meeting, no joke. It was recorded from 9 a.m. to 9:45 p.m. Okay, I have not even been in a mediation that long. All right, now this is an IEP that was a long time coming, and I'm going to go into this in detail tomorrow. So Erin's going to get some posts up for you guys, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. But it was insane, okay? Insane. All right, we're talking 9 hours. I thought was crazy. Yesterday, took the cake at 12, and I lost my shit. So if you want to hear about me losing my shit, which isn't really that often, believe it or not, and when I say I lost it, it was one of those situations where, have you ever been in a situation where you were so emotionally upset that when you started screaming, that it came out in a voice that you haven't heard very much in your lifetime come out of your mouth? The sound just alone in itself horrified me. But I'm going to let you guys sit on that because I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Yesterday I was in tears. I was actually going to come online, and I was like, no one really wants to see me. I was in that, no joke, horrible crying. And then when you're done, mascara, all over your face, and you have this horrible headache the rest of the day. That's where I was, halfway through this meeting. There are times that us advocates, because we are passionate about what we do, where we have to get to the point where it just emotionally does take a toll on us. But it wasn't that anything took a toll on me. It was the fact of what this psychologist said. And those of you who know me, many of my clients, know the one thing that was said to me, and I've said it here online, and it's something that should never be said to a parent. And that's where it came from. So we were going to talk about that tomorrow, and Erin's going to be, posting some posts for me, and I will be telling you that story tomorrow. I think it will be enlightening for you and make you realize that, we're all on this journey together, this IEP journey, and it is a tough one, and it's always going to be a tough one. And then you may have, you know, your smooth sailing for a hot minute, and then it's going to be up that hill again, and then you may have that downhill and smooth sailing and things that aren't happening, but it's always going to be like this. And a lot of times it can become very contentious if you're fighting for what you want. So what's unfortunate is the fact that when we start asking questions, when we start doing the things that we, you know, should be doing already, we just didn't know, right? We didn't know. We didn't know that. And yeah, Christina, I don't know anything about Instagram. I don't know if I'm supposed to share it. I don't know if I'm supposed to get it out. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I guess I'm going to have to play with it after this. But I figured, let me just, you know, go live and see what happens, right? Okay, so I'm just one of those people where, you know, you win and you lose. And yesterday marked my third IEP out of 296 that I was not happy with. And that's what I'm going to tell you about tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you about the gut-wrenching scream that came out of my mouth. Okay, like I really want to tell you right now, but I'm not. Because Erin needs to put up the picture. And once that's done, then I will do it tomorrow. It's her fault. Okay, so let's talk about today. Data, right? How to get the data and how to use the data, right? And what you have to do. All right? So in order to get the data, you have to get evaluations. You have to create that baseline. All right? A fight that is so hard. What, you know, we've talked about this just the other day. One-to-ones, speech services, occupational therapy services. I haven't had a whole lot of physical therapy services recently, but that one can be a more difficult one as well. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Davinia. Hi, Nan. Hi, Sachi. Am I saying that right? Did I say that right, Sachi? Hey, Kim. All right. So, data. But it's not just data, not any data. You have to have the right data. Look, my hair's like sticking up. You see it? Okay. So when I say data, you want evaluations from your schools. All right. Every year. Every freaking year. If you don't do it every year, you're not going to have accurate data. You're not going to have a good baseline, because schools who wait 3 years, again, I call insanity on that one. I mean, it's like calling bullshit on somebody, right? I mean, how do you sit and say, hey, I'm going to test your child every 3 years, and that's what's going to give me a baseline? But your child probably changes clothes sizes each year as they grow. And from what I've learned from being a child and now an adult, I believe there's this thing called the brain, and I believe the brain grows and learns more each and every year, right? Am I right? Okay, well, if the brain grows each and every year, just like you change clothes each and every year, do you stay in the same size clothes every year and just, you know, you change size, but you keep the same size from the year before? It doesn't work, does it? So why would you keep the same goals or possibly services or a baseline, you know, of where you are if that brain grew, which it's supposed to? Okay. Just because, you know, the brain grows to a certain point by the age of 5 does not mean that your brain is continuously learning. I learn things every day. Don't you? So to say, I'm going to wait 3 years to get another baseline where you are, your present level, is crazy to me. And it's a disservice to your child. So please, parents, ask every year. All right. So for example, what is it? September. All right. September 28th. Say you ask tomorrow. On September 29th of every single year, you ask for an evaluation of your child. I actually suggest that you do it either late spring, like March, because if you ask for an evaluation within a certain amount of time, it's different for each state. So look at your state. Within a certain amount of time before the end of the school year, they have to do that evaluation that year. Okay. So be mindful of that, because that's kind of cool. And then, going into the next school year, plus for ESY, where your child is right then and there, which is awesome. All right, because to know where your child is right now is how you're going to create their plan of action. And you guys need to do that. Yes, you work together as a team. I'm getting really good at working together as a team. And I say that in this like dainty little way because I have trouble with that. All right, because I know what these kids need. And I know because I talk to the parents. And I know that us parents know more than them. All right, that doesn't disservice or say, because I had yesterday, which I'll tell you about. And this drives me nuts. All right. If the director of special education in my county used to tell service providers and people on the team, if you can't handle Raven, you're in trouble. She's going to kick you off the team. All right. And if you can handle Raven, you can handle everybody. All right. So how I looked at it, that's what the director would say to people. And this was years ago. How I looked at it was, hey, I want a team who can hold their own, or I don't want them working with my child. Because if you can't hold your own, how do I know you can hold your own in educating her? How can I know that you can hold your own in all the questions that I'm going to ask? How can I know that you're going to hold your own and be able to support what you're doing because you're too scared to respond because you're intimidated by me? All right. I got that all the time. I own it. I would hear from the director, Raven, they're intimidated by you. They're not sure how to say what they want to say because, you just come at them with all these questions and da 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 da. And at first I took it offensively, like, okay, well, am I doing something wrong? Is there something that I should be doing differently? I mean, I don't want to intimidate people, but then I got to thinking about it and I said to myself, well, because I have a bold, outgoing personality, and more so here online, right? But like, if you can't handle that and you're the one providing a service to my child, then it's not working. All right? It's not working. It's not going to work. Then I had conversations with the service providers independently, and I realized that, okay, it may not work because how I'm approaching them at that moment, it is not digesting with them well. So I need to have a personal conversation with them so that they know where I'm coming from. So I did that. I reached out to them individually. I expressed that to the director of special education, and I had conversations and said, look, you're working with my child. Any question is on the table. Anything that I ask, you need to be prepared to respond to and to be able to support with data and things that you have to say. And if you don't, then we got a problem. But I'm not a mean person. I just expect you to know your stuff if you're going to work with my child. And if you don't, then it's not going to work. I have to be able to trust you. I have to be able to know that you know how to do your job. And I have to know that you are going to be able to hold your own with me. If you don't have a backbone, then that's not going to work with Raven's personality in regards to the IEP process with her child. Now, everybody's different in how their approach is, how they want to do that. But at the same time, I've had to draw that line of how I am typically, which I still have a bold personality, but it's not as forthcoming. It's not as abrasive, if you will. But the reason for that is I need clarity, and I've realized with school district, you gotta be really clear. No, don't try to twist my words. That's not what I said. Okay, because they try to twist things up, and then they twist you up, and then you forget what you have to say. So I've realized I had to stay laser focused, like that, horses coming out the gate, right? You got to put your mindset in a different place when it comes to the IEP. I always say, once you walk through that door, once you turn on that screen and you enter that IEP meeting, you are no longer Aaron, Yana, Christina, Davinia, Cynthia, Raven. Okay? You are a go-getter mother, forget your name, all right, that is going in there with a purpose, like that horse, with the blinders put on and ready to do business. Because that's what it is. It is business. It's a business transaction. All right. The transaction is getting your child what they need. So the transaction is not getting money back. The transaction isn't anything but getting your child the services and the accommodations and the goals in their IEP that is adequate in order for them to make progress. All right. It is business. All right. It sounds kind of weird. Okay. My kid's not business. I usually say to school districts lately, hey, my kid's not a drop down box. These kids aren't drop down boxes. I don't care about your systems that you have in place. Don't tell me. I was told this today and she found out she was wrong. In Ohio. And, she said, oh, well, we can only put, one disability category, because I actually had my first eligibility meeting with a parent. I don't usually take on eligibility cases. And I did for this parent just because I love her. She's really cool. And so I'm dealing with parents who already have the problems, right? Well, I decided, this child did not have services. This child didn't have anything and he needed services. And the mom said, hey, I don't know this process. Can you help me? And I was like, well, I don't normally do eligibility. It's not really my thing. But sure. So anyway, he qualifies for an IEP and we're getting him the services. It ended up being a good meeting. But at the end of the meeting, the director wanted to say that, oh, in Ohio, we can only put one disability category. We have to pick one. Bullshit. No. There's no such thing. There's no, in Ohio, we do this. In California, we do this. And yes, states have different laws in which they do things. Yes, but not when it comes to the implementation or what is put into that document. Does that make sense? So understand that there's different laws in different states. For example, California, it's a two-party state. It used to be my worst state. It's actually not my worst state anymore. I actually have gotten used to California, believe it or not, because I did it so much last year and I wanted to strangle them. And I guess I got to the point where I'm like, oh, okay, I can deal with this, New York's a pain in my ass, real Illinois is a pain in my ass right now. Oregon's a pain in my ass. Get some of these northern-ish states. But Arizona was not a cool state. Georgia's cake. So anyway, long story short, she said, oh, we can't put one disability category into the IEP. And I said, that's not true. I said, I work with Ohio and I've worked with them quite a bit last year. And I had this same conversation with another director and they said the same thing. And I don't know if it's because you guys have like drop down menus like all these other systems or what it is, but that's not true. You can put 5 different disability categories if that's what the child has. You can't say, oh, the child has autism, but we're going to ignore that they have a learning disability, that they have OHI and that umbrella. We're going to ignore the fact that, your child has no idea whatsoever how to read and has dyslexia. So we're not going to put that down either. Oh, we know that your child's blind, but we're not going to put that down because we believe that autism should be the primary disability. What makes one more important than the other? Sure, autism is kind of like you pull up the umbrella and you can say, okay, there's speech issues in autism, there's sensory issues in autism, there's all these different things under the umbrella of autism. But who are the educators in schools where is it that in their license it allows them to say that my child can't read because of autism, but my child has dyslexia too? So what makes them the expert in making that decision? Because in all honesty, a doctor won't even make that decision. They won't be able to say. They could say it could be the dyslexia, it could be the autism. We don't know. But your child has both disabilities, is what a responsible person would say. Because in all honesty, no one really can know 100%. It could be the autism. Yeah, it could be the dyslexia. Yeah, it could be both. Or it could be just one, and we don't know. And I don't like it when, you want to have this one size fits all. I'm going on my tangent. See me? I can't help myself. So let's go back to the data. I just don't like that. Okay. And anyway, I told her, I said it in a very nice way. I said, no, that's not accurate, but please call the state and verify for yourself that you can't, in fact, say that the child has autism and not put all the other disability categories, because you do. Okay. So let's move on to data. You change I change sizes sometimes each year. Our kids change sizes of clothes each year, and our children need to be evaluated each year. We want to know, how much have they grown? How much have they learned? The hope is they've learned, right? Not regressed. How much is it that, they've retained? Have they learned something that we knew they learned, and then there's regression? We want to know those things. It's so important. Hey, Janet, how are you? Hey, Christina. Hey, Cynthia. I lost my crap in the IEP yesterday and told today they don't have to provide appropriate curriculum. Yes, they do. That's BS against the law. Exact my fight for your... I don't have to provide an appropriate curriculum. What the fuck? Get that one in writing. I mean, what the hell? Of course, yeah, you just said they called you, right? Or did they tell them, say, put that one in writing, please. Put that in writing for me. So funny thing. Hi, Tess. How are you? Yes. Post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. So 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. And if you are new to catching me live and you're just jumping on, because I know you are, I see it. My name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. All right, so we're moving on. So your child needs evaluations. All right, but there's other ways to get data, okay? I love sending all my parents to Linda Mood Bell to get an evaluation. It's an eye-opening experience for them. Sometimes I have parents calling me in tears. Actually, a lot of times I do. And because I don't typically send them to Linda Mood Bell if it's not something that is not going to be a benefit to them. Which Christina, we're sending you next. And it's something where you really need to be mindful of how you evaluate your child and all the different areas that they need to be evaluated in, okay? Because an important area that is sometimes overlooked is auditory processing. A lot of people look at, hi Myra, how are you? Welcome. A lot of times people will overlook the fact that the auditory processing evaluation, because they think, oh, it's just hearing, my child can hear fine. Well, that's probably true. You're probably right about that. But what you need to understand is that auditory processing is not just hearing. That's the first thing that they test for during the test. But what they're looking for as well is Christina Melstein. The screen is frozen. Okay. Is it good now, y'all? All right. So one of the things that's really important to understand is that when you're getting testing, you have to, as a mom, as a dad, as a family member, as an aunt, uncle, whoever has the child, grandparent, you know the deficits of that child. So you look at it like, okay, you know if it's speech and reading, then that's academic, cognitive, and also, speech therapy. You want to make sure that whatever it is that you do and you evaluate, it's going to be focused on the deficits. Sometimes we don't know those deficits, and that's okay. That means you need to go above and beyond with those evaluations. So when you request an evaluation from the school system each year, you need to go in depth with all of them. You can be okay. I know a ton of evaluations, so those of you who have worked with me, I list, a book, and then I talk about it with the school system, and we figure out what's going to be the best one. And if we have to go back and get more or an IEE, then that's what we do. But the more data you have, the better you are in getting your child what they need. Now, this is where the fallback has happened as of recent, and has happened always, but it's really prevalent right now because school districts are, one, there's not enough teachers. Two, you have the fact that not just are there not enough teachers, but there's not enough service providers, all right? You have schools struggling to just make ends meet, which sucks for them, but we can't make that our problem. So it's one of those things almost sometimes that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, but at the same time, the school district has to provide what's needed and appropriate, even if the means aren't there physically within the school setting. Does that make sense? I'm so dark with the Instagram. All right. Okay. Let me see. All right. Can y'all see me okay? Hopefully it's good. You guys good? Can you guys see me okay on Instagram? All right. Cool. Okay. So, what is your opinion on ESSER federal funds? I don't know nothing about federal funds. My IEP team tries to gaslight me on refusing to provide services because of staff shortage. Why not hire right? So how that works is, all right, if your school district cannot provide a service accommodation or whatnot, for example, because they don't have a BCBA, or for example, say they don't have a speech therapist, or someone who has the ability to do what I call reading intervention. A lot of schools seem to think, oh, thanks, Christina. A lot of schools seem to think, oh yeah, we have someone to do reading intervention. The teacher would definitely do it. Well, teachers aren't trained in reading intervention. They don't even learn reading methodologies in school. So why would I want just any old teacher, including myself? I mean, I'm certified Norton Gillingham now, but I wasn't, And so to teach a child, my husband's home, so it's going to get loud for a second. So to teach a child and have that responsibility to teach a child with a disability how to read is not, Jake, he's coming. Is not a responsibility I would want to take on, because I would not want that parent down my throat for sure, of you to teach my child how to read. And I also would know, I would be able to say, hey, I'm not qualified to do that. That's not my strength. I'm big on, okay, this is my strengths, these are my weaknesses. I'm going to divert my weaknesses to people who are good at them, and I'm going to work on my strengths and get them better and work with what I'm good at, And so I'm good at IEP stuff. You want to talk science or something crazy to me of someone else's job? That's not my thing, So it's one of those things where you have to digest who you are, know what your strengths are, and know how you need to deviate that in order to be a benefit and, really proficient in deciding what evaluations your child has and who is going to provide it. Okay? So who provides intensive intervention? All right, school systems that say, oh, we got a reading specialist. Okay, well, that can be okay sometimes. Well, what's their experience? Once you start asking those things, then you're going to find out really quick if they're going to be sufficient. So if you say, okay, well, what's their experience? How long have they worked with children with special needs? Okay, because reading specialists don't go to school to work with children with special needs. Did you know that? They go to school all it is they got their master's in reading. So they got their bachelor's in education, just like any other teacher, and then they got their master's in reading. But they're not learning specific methodologies either. The methodology is not always the best thing in reading. But when you go into a school and you work in a school, that's when the principal typically says, okay, here you go. Here's the platter of methodologies that we use within our school system. This is what we buy. All right, that's how that works. All right, so if your school system uses Fontes and Pinnell, that's because that school district or that school itself bought Fontes and Pinnell. Okay, if your school system uses a different type of program, or if they say, oh, we use here's a good one. If they say, oh, we use a Wilson-based program. I've never heard of a Wilson-based program, because if you call Wilson, you're either certified in Wilson to deliver their instruction, or you're not, okay? And there's leveled certifications within Wilson, okay? So, for example, I'm certified in direct one-to-one instruction in Orton Gillingham, but I'm not certified in group instruction in Orton Gillingham. Does that make sense? So it's one or the other. In Wilson, there's 1, 2, 3 tiers, and it depends on what tier you are and how you're certified. Okay, and so there's a difference. And I'll be the first to say, since my child is at Linda Mood Bell, I'll be the first to say that Orton Gillingham isn't as good as Linda Mood Bell. It's not. And the thought process behind it, I can tell you that, but I was certified before my child went to Linda Mood Bell. But, but Orton Gillingham's fabulous. Don't get me wrong. Fabulous. But I'm just saying that Linda Mood Bell is a shit ton better. And their thought process behind what they do. Okay, which is another live coming up, guys. So when you have data, okay, you're able to create that baseline. All right, so you get my drift. All right, you have to get the data. Whether that is if a teacher takes good data, and if you remember I'm going to get to y'all's questions in just a second, I promise. One of the best ways to take data. Most school districts are in a what's called 9-week grading period. All right, so within 9 weeks, your child sometimes, okay, if they get report cards, all right, or if you have a typical child and a child with special needs, and your child with, that's typical in a gen ed classroom and so on and so forth, that doesn't have disabilities, gets a report card every 9 weeks. Okay. So every 9 weeks, you are required by law to get a progress report in regards to your child. How are they doing? How are they doing on their goals? Typically, it's the fun bullshit that drives me crazy that says, okay, here's the goal. Oh, thank you so much. I have the goal in the IEP, but thank you so much for providing it to me again. And then it has like a 1-line sentence of your child is doing sufficient and making sufficient progress in such and such goal. All right. Or like in Virginia, it'll say a 1 through 5 as well. 5 being mastered, 4 being almost mastered, 3 being sufficient progress, 2 being we're just starting it, and 1 being we haven't started it at all. Okay. And I see no point in progress reports. I think they're a waste of everybody's time. I think they're a waste of whoever writes them time. And I think it's a waste of my time looking at the damn thing. There is nobody's progress report that I have looked at as in one of my clients. Ask them, there's hundreds, but ask them, when have I ever used your progress report to prove my case in your case? Never. Because the progress reports don't contain shit. Or 0. Nada. It tells me nothing. Why do you provide it to me? Okay? The way in which to collect data, people, okay? And if you're a teacher, you guys know I love working with you guys. All right. I love teachers that are open to learn. I'm a teacher that was open to learn. I think it's just a beautiful thing that we can learn together. So teachers who know me know that I love it when they contact me and we chit chat together, collaborate. They teach me stuff, I teach them stuff, and it's fun because teaching is a stressful thing, even though I don't teach anymore. I mean, people, come on. All right. We go to school, teachers, to teach. We do not. Okay. For those lovely, humble, wonderful special education teachers, I beg you, please stop running trials, opportunities, or times, whatever it is that you put in a matter of semantics in the IEP in regards to that goal every day. That is not teaching. Okay? So when we have data, appropriate, accurate, adequate, individualized data, that data is created based off of you teaching. So what does that mean? We gotta teach in order to get data. Other than assessments, of course. Okay? So this is what I've started proposing to people, and I'm very excited about it, and I'm going to talk about it all the time because it's such a great idea. And it's, I know that people have told me to write a book because I'm so genius about this stuff. I'm just kidding, guys. Seriously, listen to this. All right? So, how do you take data, teachers? That's going to be the easiest way for you. That's not going to make you batshit crazy. And you're going to be able to please parents like myself. And you're going to make them super happy because they are going to love you. I promise. If not, come back and tell me about it. And I promise I'll call the parent up and be like, dude, okay? If you're on a 9-week grading period, every 2 weeks, okay, you teach. At the end of that 2 weeks, you do a trial. All right. I like trials, opportunities, times, depending on what the goal is. Whichever one sounds better. It's all a matter of semantics. They all mean the same thing. All right. So if yours says, 9 out of 10 trials at 90% accuracy, because 80% is the lowest I'll go, because 80% is what is considered mastery. So it has to be 80% or above, or that's not mastery. And there's no point in creating a goal if you're not going to approach in teaching that child how to master it. Okay? Change the goal. So if it's 8 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 opportunities at 80% accuracy, 8 out of 10 trials, 9 out of 10 trials, 9 out of 10 opportunities, 9 out of 10 times at 90% accuracy as measured by report data collection. Should always be the end of every goal. 8 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 trials, 8 out of 10 opportunities. Pick one, okay? Then it's at 80% if it's at an 8, as measured by report data collection. If it's speech therapy, as measured by speech therapy data. If it's math or written work that you can actually physically hold and see, like from what they have done, your child has done, then as measured by report data collection and written work. Okay? Every 2 weeks, a trial of 10 is done. Okay? How many times in that one trial of 10, every 2 weeks, which is what? 4 times in a 9-week period, data is taken off of a trial opportunity or times of 10. Rocco, come here. Rocco, come here. He's got his hat. Rocco. Really? Come here. I'm sorry, guys. Rocco, come here. Rocco. Come here right now. Come here. Go to your bed. Go. Go to your bed. I know. You can't help it. Come here. All right. This is my big baby. All right. And look, then Jake's all jealous. This is my older dog, Jake. Okay, guys, go. All right. So now, all right, what happens? Another 2 weeks goes by, right? Then what happens? You do another trial of 10. And then guess what? Another 2 weeks goes by. You do another trial of 10. So in a grading period, in 9 weeks, you have 4 trials done. So let's just say you're going off of 8 out of 10. So if the first time your child has 2 out of 10, the second time they got 4 out of 10, the third time they got 5 out of 10, the fourth time, did I say third, fourth? Whatever. The fourth time they got 6 out of 10. All right, so you're like, oh, okay, they're making progress. So then what happens? You get the progress report supported by these 4 trials, which is what? Data, all right? Screw the really progress report. I want the data, but just attach them, staple them together, all right? And then by the end of the year, you have so many trials done. 16. I'm really bad at math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, 16. I'm bad at math. When I say I'm bad at math, I'm bad at math. All right. My husband laughs because I still count on my fingers. So the thing is that's how you take data. All right. And when you have the right data, then you can fight for what you want. I say want, but it's really what your child needs. Okay. Because what you want is what your child should need, right? So that's what you have to do. Evaluations, data taken the right way when you have goals. I mean, and that's the problem these days is, I've asked for FERPA requests, all right? Every time I work with a client, that's the first thing I do. And guess what? I get shit for data. These teachers and districts and schools haven't taken shit for data. Why? Because teachers aren't taught how to take data. They're not taught how to do that. That's why they run trials all the time sometimes. They have no freaking clue how to take appropriate data that is going to be sufficient and show progress or regression, one or the other. You have to be able to show what you're doing. What is the purpose of teaching if you can't show that a child is making progress, that they're moving forward in the world, so to speak? It has to be shown that way. And if you don't, then you're going to be left in this like pond and subject to people like me. And you don't want that to happen. Okay? Because if I see no data, I'm coming after you. And it's not typically nice, okay? Because I'm already mad and I haven't even met you yet. Because you didn't do your job. And, I always taught my kids, you want things, you gotta work. Mom's not gonna just hand it to you on a silver platter, you gotta work. All right? So when you're in education and you're teaching somebody else's child or caring for somebody else's child, if you will, you better do that better than you do your own. Because that's a huge responsibility. And to not have adequate data is such a serious violation these days. Because that is how you teachers are going to support what you're doing and not allow administration to boss you around. So if you know how to take appropriate data, you don't get to be dangled and told what to do because you did it right, and you're no longer under their thumb, so to speak, because you did it right. All right? And we all know that they tell you what to do, how to do it, what to say, how to say it. Shut up in the IEP meetings. Don't talk. Don't answer the parents' questions. I'm going to interrupt for you so you don't have to talk and you don't have to tell the parent the truth because you didn't take the data and blah, 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 becoming this big transparency thing, becoming this big lie. And all that happens is you're pissing parents off. You've broken the relationship. It's completely done, kaput, and, it's very hard to get back. It's not worth it. So I'm talking to teachers right now because you guys are better than that. And you don't want to be that, hanging that necklace and the principal's just dangling it all over the place because you guys didn't figure out how to take data. And I get it. I'm not holding you accountable for it. I'm not holding you accountable for not, knowing how to take data. Just like I don't hold parents accountable for not knowing the IEP process. We don't know what we don't know, but we are responsible for learning now. All right? Just like I'm holding any parent responsible who's watching me or who wants to learn from me, who wants to, grow and grow their IEP and get their child's IEP on freaking point, has to realize that my insanity, my passion for you to get your IEP on point does not happen, number one, overnight. So if you think that shit happens overnight, you are sadly mistaken. Do not even try to fix your child's IEP because you are going to be just a pissed off parent. All right. It takes time. All right. Just like I've said this before, it takes what? You put in for an IEP, it takes up to 30 days to have that first IEP meeting. You ask for an evaluation, 60 days they got to do an evaluation, 60 to 65 days. Then you have an IEP meeting. Then you go over those evaluations. Then you have another IEP meeting. That could be another 30 days. Then you create the IEP. Then you put it together. You didn't agree. You got to go back to the table and keep doing it. But if you're not persistent like that and you're not the type of person to stay on it and stay consistent and stay persistent and know that, you know what, after 6 months typically, my child's IEP is going to be straight, or it's going to be 3/4 of the way straight and I'm still fighting on the other fourth. All right? But you can't look at it like, damn, I'm going to go to the next IEP. My meeting's in 2 weeks, Raven. Can you give me some advice so that I can go into the IEP meeting in 2 weeks? Hell no. Stop calling me for that stuff. No, I can't. All right? I cannot, do not call me anymore and text me and say, hey, Raven, my IEP's coming in 2 weeks. Or I got an IEP in 5 days. Can you help me? Sure. But we're going to continue that IEP meeting. It ain't happening in 5 days. Because that's not going to work. I got to look at all that data or lack thereof. I ain't jumping ship and running into a mess and trying to clean that shit up. Hell no. All right? I start on a clean slate with my parents. All right? You come to me, you're getting a clean slate. I am not jumping into your mess and cleaning it all up. I hate cleaning up messes. Messes are no fun, and no one likes to clean up a mess. Kids don't like to clean up their messes. Adults don't like to clean up messes. None of us like to clean up messes. All right? I want to start you off on a clean slate. Wipe it clean. And that's what I tell clients. And that's what I tell the school districts. I say, you know what? This is what we're doing. We're starting over. And I say to school districts, just pretend that we're like ripping up the IEP. Literally. Not literally, but, literally. And we're starting new. What's happened in the past is what's happened in the past. We need to talk about that for a hot second. Let's get it out in the open. Get rid of that nasty air. And then let's come together and create this IEP. And I want to tell you, I'm proud of myself. I am always working to be better. And this year, I am trying, and I've done it a couple times now. I've talked to 3 separate attorneys who are on cases that I am in, and we've collaborated before the IEP meeting because we've already been ready to kill each other. And after killing each other via email, I have reached out and I've said, hey, at that olive branch, and instead of just being crazy bitch and doing what I do and still getting my kids what they need, I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw out this olive branch. And I've done this a couple times now so far this year, and it's worked. And I said, look, can we hop on a Zoom, chit chat about this? You and I both, we have our clients and we're going to support our clients no matter what, but can we come together and, just have a conversation so that you can go back and talk to your client and they know where we're coming from and vice versa. And attorneys are actually really open to that. And I've been really impressed at the fact that we've had really good conversations about this and it's worked. And I'm like, okay. You know, sometimes you do get more with honey than with vinegar, right? And there's some times where you get a whole heck of a lot with vinegar. All right. And I tell school districts, you know, I can do it like this or I can do it like this. I actually don't care which way you want to go. But in stepping back this year, because last year was such hell because of COVID and everything else and 296 IEPs. I mean, shit, there's 352 days out of the year or something. I mean, I was crazy. I made myself crazy. And so this year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to do a bit less cases. I'm going to really focus on getting school districts to change and make a change for good, not just because Raven came in and raised hell, you know, because it shouldn't be like that. You know, I don't want to be that, you know, whirlwind tornado that comes in, destroys everything so that they can start new. And then when I'm gone, they pick up the pieces and start back with their old ways. I want them to make change for the kids and for kids to be able to make progress. So you have to have that data. And, you know, just summing it up, in order to use that data, all right, in the right way, all right, for it to work for your child, you have to look at things like this. Let's just go with speech, because that's been my biggest headache lately, all right? And in that meeting yesterday, I got the child a one-on-one, but it was a nightmare. So I will tell you tomorrow about my 12-hour IEP meeting, but I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. It was no fun being in tears. I mean, you know, those just gross tears of just sadness, you know, of just, you know what I said to the team, and just pouring tears, all right? That whole, like, I had to shut my screen off and I was a mess, all right? And because of what they had said, that was it. That was kind of the, you know, icing on the cake. And I said, you know what? This is just sad. This makes me so sad. And it does, you know, that schools and districts and staff, and this is not everybody, are showing that they just don't care. I mean, and this is not everybody, but this team showed they didn't care. And they tried to use, we've stayed on for 12 hours and that doesn't show that we care. No, you stayed on for 12 hours to cover your ass because you know the parents are going to take you to due process. That's why you stayed on for 12 hours. Let's just cut to the chase. All right, you know. But you could tell they just didn't care, you know, because you can't say no to speech if a child can't talk. How do you do that? If a child shows in data that they have a deficit, you serve that need, no matter what. Why do you fight parents when a need needs to be met in order for that child to grow and progress? How do you say no to that and create this animosity and stress and frustration and complete demolishing of the relationship? It's not worth it, especially if that parent is asking for the damn Toyota and not the freaking Cadillac. All right? We know that we shouldn't ask for the Cadillac. I tell my parents, hey, you ain't getting the Cadillac. But they deserve the Toyota. I got a Toyota Camry. I love my damn Camry. But, I mean, bottom line, if you have the data, and this is summing this up for today, they wanted to schedule an IEP with me in a week. It's crazy. Yes, guys, post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live, 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie, and say hello. Tell me where you are from. This is the first time I'm live on Instagram, so I have no clue what it looks like, how it looks, what I'm supposed to do, if I'm supposed to push something, if I'm not supposed to push something, but I'm going to learn, okay? Just be patient with me. So, and this is hard, guys. It really is. But you have to get into the mindset that after time and time again, all right, you try and you try again and you try again one more time. Hey, Tara. That's when you got to put your foot down. And guys, if it has to do with reading, writing, math, speech, take it all the way. Don't back up. Don't give up. Go to due process. Okay? Do I want you to go to due process? No. Do I want you to request due process and request to mediate and hopefully mediate and not have to go to due process? Sure. I do that all the time. Hi, how are you? Tara, and is it Etoy? What a beautiful name. But don't not do that because of fear and your child who is limited verbally or cannot speak at all not get speech because you're scared of what could come of dispute resolution. Use it when needed, only when needed, but don't be afraid of it. It's there for a reason. And it's our responsibilities as parents to do that. All right? Don't make it about money. If you can't afford me or an attorney or whatever, shit, do it on your own and at least say that you tried. You know, I don't suggest that, you know, but if you have to, do it on your own and you know, and at least you tried. And we can, it typically does not go that far. It really doesn't. But it's almost like you gotta threaten in order to get the shit you want. And it's so stupid. You know? Oh, you don't believe me? You think I'm just all mouth? Okay, fine. Bam. Request for due process. Then they're like, oh, okay, let's mediate. You know, now you want to mediate? After we've been to 5 IEP meetings, after we've asked you for things over and over and over, you know the child needs it. You said it in recorded IEP meetings. Then you provided a PWN full of shit, and then you want to test our knowledge and test our words and our verbiage and how far we're going to go. And, you know, schools think you guys are full of shit. They do. You got to just digest that. All right, so unless you're a parent who takes action, say what you mean what you say. If you're going to say it, you sure as hell better go do it. All right? Hands down, that's one thing. Put it into your brains right now. If you're going to say it, you better do it. Or they will play you forever. Because they're going to always think, that Christina, she full of shit. She says she's going to take us due process all the time. She threatens and she says this and she says this and she says she ain't going to do nothing. She's just going to do this, this, and this. Don't listen to her. Just appease her. You know, give her a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And she ain't nothing. She ain't going to do nothing. Right? Right? Happens all the time. All the time. And, you know, you can be on, you know, in an IEP with a school. If you don't do this, we're going to go to dispute. If I say that, I'm serious. I've already talked to the parent. I've already said, all right, how far are you willing to go? Are we doing this? So if it comes out of my mouth and I say, I'm not playing anymore with y'all. You're giving this child speech therapy one way or the other. It's going to be nice and we get along and we work together as a team, which is what I want. Or we're going to take a dispute resolution. And I don't know what you guys are used to and people that are full of shit, but I ain't. We're going. And if it needs to be where none of us can be adults anymore and we have to have the hearing officer make that decision, then oh freaking well. It's out of your hands, out of my hands. I guess it's, who's better? It's really stupid. I mean, I make them feel that stupid because really it's not about the kid at that point. It's about their ego and them thinking that they're just going to get one up on you. It's a power play with them. And I've had to sit back and really look at these situations sometimes, and it makes me sick because they literally treat it like it's a power play. This isn't about, and I have to say to them, look, I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you like the parent. I don't care if you like the parent's dog. This is about the child. This isn't about you and me. You could hate me and I could hate you. This is about the child. This is not a power play or a power struggle. We don't go out at the end of the day. We're not friends. This is about the child getting what they need, what's appropriate, how they need it, and you providing it because it's your goddamn job. All right? That's what has to happen. And the way for you guys to get to that point, all right, and really, really get your child, you got to be at that point. You got to be at that point where I don't give a shit anymore. I got to do what I got to do because I am done. That's where we all got to get sometimes in life, right? It's got to be I'm way past done. I can't do it anymore. That's how I got 6.5 years of hell. 6.5 years of being lied to, being told, oh, just wait a little. She's going to learn. You just got to give her time. She's got disabilities. Just give her time. Years went by. I was lied to. Things would change if I walked into the school, being fake. How they did things. I mean, I could write a book on just what happened in my 6.5 years. And the bureaucracy of it will disgust you. For those of you who don't know anything about the bureaucracy part of it, it would be an eye-opener. And, I guess I'm one of those advocates. It's always look, I got to look, I said to a school district today, my parents not allowing you to collaborate with the outside services because what happens is it's used against them. And they were like as if it was shock to them. It's not shock. It happens all the time. And it's unfortunate because they should be able to collaborate. And sometimes I allow it and tell my parents, all right, let's try it. But I tell you, 98% of the time, I would say 97, 98% of the time it's used against them. So why would you want to do that? I'm going back to due process 10 weeks after we just had mediation. I'm beyond furious after his last. Wow. That sucks. You have to tell me what's going on. Yeah, exactly, right? It's why. Tracy, yeah, I read that already. Kim says, we already sent it when they did send much of, yeah. What does sufficient really mean? Different things to everyone. Yeah. Yeah, that's why data has to be data, right? There's a evaluation that is done. I always allow it to be done. It's whatever. But it's called the BASC 3. And then there's another one called the sensory profile, which that one's a good one. I will say it's decent. But they're all based on opinion. They're not based on fact. All right? So if a parent's filling out a questionnaire and a teacher's filling out a questionnaire, and then it's interesting though, I like them, okay? But I'm just explaining what, indirect type of data is, okay? Of here's your opinion, here's my opinion. Oh, how do they look together? That's interesting to see. But I don't use that data. I say, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's move on to the data. All right. Yeah, he's upstairs. But then, and then you have your real data, which is taken by, every 9 weeks or evaluations, etc. All right. And that's what real data is about. All right. And in order to get your child what they need, you have to have that backup system. All right. That's a good word for that. Data is your backup system. All right. It's like that spare tire. Oh, look at me. I'm like thinking as I go. It's like that. What else? But no, seriously, it's, that backup system that you have to have, in order to get what's needed, and it's something that's very important. But another thing to be mindful of is if something has never been tried, the school system has to be open to trying something new. They cannot be opposed to trying something new because there's no data. So if your child is in need for something, everybody knows there's a need for something, and everybody's, because the school system, they'll, do this IEP circle thing is what I call it, where nothing happens in like an hour. And yet we all know that your child's having this issue, but this hour goes by of nothing really happening. Well, that's because they don't know either, okay, of what to do. And you're saying, hey, let's talk as a team. What do you want to do? How's this going? What's the data look like? Blah, 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 blah. And they say nothing because they don't know what to offer and they don't know what to do. And then you start offering something and then they say no. And it's this revolving door. And so that's when you need to step back and say, look, we haven't tried this. My child's having trouble with XYZ. You need to try this. You don't get to say, oh, I need data to do it, because you don't know if it's going to work or not, because you haven't even tried it. All right? But you got to know the ways in which to do it. And there's times to do things and there's times to not do things. All right? But sometimes it's good to just hold back. Sometimes it's good to say, all right, let's get them that service. Just put it in play, and then let's wait on some data to come in. And then we really, go after what we need to go after so that the child has what's needed and appropriate. So you have to, figure out what situation's what, which one you need to do what with. You got to play with it because you're not going to know. You're going to have to figure it out as you go. And clearly, when the data is there, don't give up at that point. That's the point where you put your foot down and okay, the data shows that my child has pragmatic issues, receptive, expressive, is having trouble with comprehension and written expression. They all go together, and then the school's not providing anything different. They're not recommending anything different. They're not doing anything different. Oh, you got a problem. All right, that's when you go for the jugular and you don't stop until you get your child what they get and what they need. All right. And then there's other times where maybe they've given in a little bit, and so you go back to another IEP meeting and you collaborate and you get a little bit more. But you're going to know if you hit that wall. And if you hit that wall and you know that your child needs something, don't give up. All right. So that's what I want you to know, is you have to have the data to back up what you want to get your child what they need. All right? But you don't always have to have the data in order to change up what they need to see if they really need it, and to gather data in order to see if the new implementation of something new is going to work. Okay? So I will talk to you guys soon. It was so cool being on Instagram. This is really cool. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. We're going to talk more tomorrow. I'm going to tell you about my 12-hour IEP meeting tomorrow. I'm going to tell you why I literally blew up with that gut-wrenching cry, scream that I had, that I have thought about today. And I'm like, oh my God, I really sounded like that. But it was such a devastating thing that happened to me years ago and brought back all that stuff that this IEP process can do to us and create such anxiety and honestly like PTSD. I think I have PTSD from my IEPs. I really truly think I do, because from my situation, that's why I help other parents, because from my situation, it created so much anxiety and turmoil and hell that, it's gotta go somewhere, and all the people that suffered during the time that you went through it. I mean, my other two kids didn't even get the attention they needed because I was so focused on Skylar because of what was going on. And, so there's so much more to the IEP process and so many more people involved than I think school districts think. They think, oh, it's just this one child and these pain in the ass parents, when really it's this one child, these pain in the ass parents that they want to say, and then that family, and other children involved. And it's, the educational system's become something that we really need to think more about, and change has to be made. And as we all know, change does not just get made by being quiet. So you have to join me in being loud and screaming from the rooftops and putting yourself out there, whether you're outgoing like me or if you're passive and quiet. You have to be vocal about this for this educational system and special education system to change. It is not going to change on its own. And it's that bad right now. If you think that you're the only parent that's going through this, you're sadly mistaken. If you don't realize how many lawsuits are going on right now, it's insane. And it's sad. It makes me sad because it's not something that is going to break a school district's budget to give a child more speech services or an intervention with reading, or bringing one person in to do an hour of reading with a child a couple of days a week. It's not going to break their budget. But yet they're so hell-bent on no, 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 and no. And then parents have to go above and beyond to be able to get what's needed for their child. And it's a stressful experience. And it's unfortunate. So you have to join me, okay, in this. Let's just do it this year and see how it works. If we all are just vocal and verbal and don't hold back in things that you say. Just put it out there. Because once you help your child, I want you to go help somebody else's. All right? Because that's the way we're going to make change. That's the way. Is sticking together and helping each other. All right? So I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great evening. And I will see you tomorrow. If you got questions, go ahead and keep posting them. I will answer them. Post a 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. Make sure to say hi. Make sure to tell me where you're from. And if you want to say something about your kids, I want to hear about your kids. I love hearing about the kids. And I will talk to you guys soon. Hi, Nicole. How are you? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, we are the change, and we have to make change. I want people to join me in making educational change for children with special needs because they need it. And services are being taken from children that desperately need it. And it's just not okay. I am actually just 100% being honest with you, not an advocate to fight for services that aren't needed. I just don't do that. I fight for services that are 100% needed. Why? Because I've looked at the data over and over and over again. So when I go to that meeting, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm saying. I know what data I'm going off of. I know what data I'm referencing. I know what data, more data than they even know, because they don't even know what I'm talking about half the time, and I have to tell them the document that I'm going off of. So data is important, and knowing when you go to the table what you're talking about, how you're talking about it, what it is that you need to get across, and making that point and just doing it again and again and again and again. All right? I will talk to you guys soon. All All right. We are back to fighting OG certified BS jerk off. I am SE, OG. Oh my gosh. So crazy. You're welcome, Yana. Hey, Bill. How are you? Hi, Tiffany. All right, guys. So join me in this. I'm serious. I'm going to hold you accountable. All right. What I'm asking you to do is be loud. All right. Maybe that's a t-shirt I need to put on my little store that Aaron and I are creating slowly but surely. With t-shirt names and things that we're gonna put out there for you. I think that's gonna be really cool. I'm excited about that. So, but that's maybe a t-shirt. We should be loud. Okay, get it out there that we need to change the special education system. And I'll tell you, and school districts not putting the budget and the $4 million plus that they're getting into creating more, football freaking fields and helping our kids with special needs actually have an education. I'm not saying anything bad about football, but I mean, yeah, there's actually 2 different school districts out there in the United States that took the money that they got due to COVID and built new football fields. That did happen. It did. It really did. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.